we are live. Hello and welcome everyone to the next episode of Earth Unmade, which I just realized I probably didn't update the description of. I'll fix that in a bit. So if anybody's like, hey, Sean, why is this I don't know, agon or something, don't worry. We'll get that fixed shortly. I'm Sean, your host, and I'm very excited to come back. But so that I can go do technical things, Andy, why don't you say hi to everybody?
I got you, Sean. No worries.
Thanks. You're the best.
Hey, y'all. I'm Andy. My pronouns are she and her. Oh, gosh. Here we are today. I did the smartest thing you can do to prep before streaming, and I took a nap. So I feel great. I have coffee over here. Everything's going to be fantastic. We get to go see our crew in the process of Abbott and Tor being like deeply at odds with one another to go out and do a mission, which is where we're going to recover Leviathan. So I'm sure that's all going to go great. That's what I'm really on about today. Yeah. Andrew, where you
at? First of all, that's me, in case anyone is wondering. I'm doing pretty good. My name's Andrew. My pronouns are they, them. I took the time just before this to kind of watch the last little bit of the last episode, and I'm feeling up to speed and ready for it. So, yeah, excited for going out into the like wider space of the setting and getting outside of where we've been. I think it should be good. Strash?
Well, hi, I'm Strash, he, him, and OMG. I don't know about anyone else, but I have to fight for what I've transcended, and I can't wait to punch a monster. That said, you know, I'm doing all right. I'm excited for game and stuff. And Sean, over to you.
I'm Sean Nittner. I go by use he him pronouns, and I'm interested after having girly time with Reina and sort of blowing off some steam. I think the impact of both the duty to the Bastion in this mission and the tension that was not at all improved or resolved between Prophet and Abbott last session should make this intense. So whether I'm punching or not, I will feel the punches in the feels, I'm sure. I will feel the feeling punches. I'm excited to go. We rolled our engagement last time. I think we got a risky result. Is that right?
Yeah, we got the middle result.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for things to be risky. Yes, that's me. With that, I think we're ready to go do a thing. Oh, we should talk because we often forget to talk about our safety tools. One
Great.
of the safety tool that we, among others, there's the social contract that we have among friends of if something is bothering us, we will let each other know. But we have particular ways of articulating that, and we're using Bree Sheldon's script change, which is similar to the controls you'd have on when you're streaming media, fast forward, or when you're playing not streamed media, I guess actually. Fast forward, where we're going to skip over something. We don't want to include this in the content. Rewind if we want to go back and redo something that we're not happy with, or pause when we need to stop and either excise something from the description, from the content, from the fiction, or talk about it. And we're going to respect any of those things that anybody needs to do or anybody wants to do, because we want this story to be enjoyable and comfortable and healthy and fun for all of us here. So that's the tool we're using, or a tool we're using.
Great. Do y'all want me to describe some stuff now? I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Andrew, we want you to say words.
Fine.
Make the words appear.
It's with a heavy heart that I will say words now. Okay, so we get this like really like from very far away drone shot of the the Conclave, which is the ship fortress thing that y'all have, like floating out into, like across the ocean. That's immediately surrounding the bastion, and over the kind of alien landscape of the world at large. I think we probably see a lot of like volcanic activity, huge like mega trees, and everything is kind of like weirdly big and off in color, and expressing these kind of exaggerated traits. So like the trees have these massive fan-shaped leaves that are like a city block in size, so this like huge leaf hanging out. The atmosphere is thick with like ash and other stuff from the volcanoes, but also the air like smells really rich and earthy. And so everything we see everything kind of from above, from y'all's perspective, but the destination here, was it the other site? Was that what we talked about last time?
That was the plan.
Yeah, we're going to the other site to retrieve an engine from it.
Yep.
So eventually, you come to this like massive like crater valley. So it's a big round valley. It's this huge depression with like clouds kind of streaming into it, or mist streaming into it from above. And it's totally barren inside. It's just this big blasted space. And in the middle of that, there is, it's not like the same as the Bastion, but it's the architecture is similar. It's much blockier and more square instead of kind of like conical and round. And instead of having this big tall peak, it's like really low and squat. It has these like super enormous like framing stone pieces. And circling around it very far away, there's some kind of like gliding like pterodactyl-esque animal that's like way the fuck high up that we can see very distantly. It's not like it's actively messing with you or anything, but it's circling kind of like vultures over this thing. And down in the blasted space, what wasn't visible at first, but as we get closer, we can see like sticking up through the mist, there are like enormous bones of some kind. Some of them might be pieces of engines that have fallen, but it's clear that this was like the site of some catastrophe that destroyed a bunch of leviathans, maybe some engines. And so, yeah, everything is swept in that way of like, these things were standing around and then something exploded and blasted pieces of them in a radius away from the central building, which is perfectly intact. And we get maybe the sequence of like y'all deploying and like landing in this space.
Do I remember correctly that the way we land is that we're like dropped out of the bottom of
you get like plopped out of it.
Yeah.
And so probably like I imagine the chariot landing first, with this big heavy like thump, and it kicks up a bunch of like dust, like sooty, ashy dust. These like massive clouds of it pop up wherever you land. And there's just all of this like silt that you're standing in. So you're like, the engine is like ankle deep in the ashes of whatever was here before.
Oh my. I think Reina definitely has a bit of lip as she lands. She quips a bit about how like, oh, you think this is punishment? This is a cakewalk. A mission on any other day would be 10 times harder than this. And like I probably very poorly thought out like stomp on the ground a couple of times to send up a few clouds and be like, all right, well, let's wrap some chains around this and drag it home. I guess we're done here.
Right. Oh, you're like, oh yeah, I found it. There we go. Good.
There's only one thing here. This is clearly what we're supposed to take. Let's do the thing.
I think the magician is like floating down, and of its four arms, like two of them are like touching, and it's clear that when we like cut in, we see that Prophet is focusing very hard, because last time she sort of bonded, she connected with the magician a little bit, and like I think she's starting to sort of master its more subtle capabilities, and so instead of like dropping, it's kind of levitating down, but it's very hard for her to regulate the speed. And so she's like focusing very hard. And then when like Raina's like, okay, we're done here, she's like, keep it steady. And it's sort of to Raina and it's sort of to her at the same time. She's trying to go. And I think at the end, she like the last 10 feet are like, donk, because it's hard to regulate at the very, very end. But she does, I think, manage to sort of levitate it down.
Yeah, so y'all are all down there. It's super misty, and now also there's all this dust. It's like really hard to see anything. There's this like haze now that's settled in since you've disturbed things. And you can see these like bits of like bone or like skeletons of various types of things jutting out through the rubble. But there's no clear like, there's the engine we want. It was just like, yeah, there's probably something here.
Yeah.
So what do y'all do? There's the like superstructure is nearby. There's all this dusty weirdness, and then like very high up, just through this like haze, you can kind of see things circling up above.
More than one thing?
Yes.
Okay, the number has increased. Excellent.
I think Tor trying to be the captain, the troubled captain. Like you said, oh, looks like we found it. She says, I think that's part of an engine, but we're looking for the whole thing. Let's move inside. And like one of the magician's smaller, more articulate arms like points to the superstructure you described, while the other two like pull out a battle axe, because now there's a battle axe.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Actually, I think Rena says, do you want me inside or outside? I'm kind of worried about what is our ship called again?
The Conclave.
The Conclave.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about the Conclave. I kind of look up at all the giant birds up in the heavens circling, and I kind of shrug and say, like, I could stay out here and protect it, or I could go in with you guys to clear.
That makes sense. Why don't you watch out here until we determine what the actual threat is. Let's keep an eye on those things.
Well, the two of you are going back and forth. Abbott in the Hangman is like assessing the like the lay of the land and examining like that explosion pattern and like just trying to pick out what all the different bits and pieces, and is interrogating the landscape and trying to figure out like where is if okay great, so we go in, where's in,
how do we get in the thing?
So
yeah, do you want to gather info?
Yes, I do. Very much.
Okay, well, that can just be a fortune roll for now. I don't think there
Great.
is any immediate danger to that.
Awesome. Is that it's been just long enough. I don't know what I'm doing. So am I looking at like a fortune roll for
You mean, yeah, I'm guessing that this will be a fortune roll based on one of your skills, like maybe analyze or something?
Yeah, it will be either analyze or perceive, seem like the two obvious ones. The kind of information you'll get for each would be different.
Yeah.
If you're using perceive, it's going to be more direct and immediate kind of information, and then analyze is going to be for like revealing more cryptic or hidden stuff.
sure, which is always what Abbott is looking for. So Great. So then when we talk about it being a fortune roll, what you're saying was we're simply not worrying about
position.
Great. So
Yeah.
it's not magically by saying it's a fortune roll, we're not talking about Moe Tsundere or
No.
Kadere, because
Right.
that's what I thought initially.
There's a
Great.
little button at the bottom that says fortune, and you can click on that. And then it says, what's this? And you can type in analyze or perceive. But I don't know if it actually is substantively different in the mechanics as to just.
Yeah, you may as well just click the action that you're rolling.
Yeah.
Okay, great. That is helpful. Now I understand better what we mean when we say a fortune roll, because I definitely didn't understand.
Within the game context, for people watching and for you, Andy, there's action rolls where there's a threat level, like controlled, risky, or desperate, right? And the fortune rolls are where because there's no immediate threat, it's just the fortune roll just indicates how well you do the thing. There's no, if you fail it, if you roll the worst, it just means you get bad information, or you get a bad result.
Great. That's like vocabulary and context. It helps me a whole bunch because I had no idea. So that being said, Abbott's totally looking for like all of the understated patterns and like where's the like is there a hidden hangar door? Like engines are big. They have to go in a door somewhere. What happened here? Like what's that?
Yeah, and maybe some clues as to what caused all of this.
Yeah, very much. Like arguably that's the more interesting thing than the finding a door in, but Abbott's trying.
Is Abbott moving closer as she's getting this information as she's surveying, or is she doing this from where we landed?
Abbott initially, what I imagine this being is that having landed with the hangman is very still and watching the two of you start like moving forward. And then we'll sort of like stand there for a good long time and then move forward slowly, but still trailing behind. Because she's not just looking forward where y'all are moving towards, but is also looking at the whole space.
Absolutely.
So,
and there's something about the environment here, Andrew, and tell me if I'm getting the right vibe, that I feel like because our vision is so occluded that there's that like people out in space in like space suits kind of like there's some maybe distortion in our
there's like
communication with each
buzz.
There's some radio buzz, and it's like we're only seeing little, like we disappear for a moment and then we see bits of each other again appear out of the fog. So
the density is really inconsistent with the like fog and the soot, and so it's occasionally there will be bits where it's really, really thick and you can't see through it all, and then something will kind of emerge briefly or fade away. So
awesome.
There's also this like constant background of chatter coming to y'all from the conclave of like stuff they're seeing, but it's all this it's like background noise to the important comms that y'all are doing, but there's all this like, all right, stay on like position so-and-so, like all the operators and people working with you.
Great.
Which is just you. Well, that's the stuff we're used to. That's the stuff that always.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Prophet's working real hard to try and keep an eye on both Abbott, who's holding back, and Reyna, who's presumably going for it. Like she doesn't want to lose track of either of them. We'll see if that happens or not.
We'll see what happens.
So Andy, do you want to go ahead and roll that thing?
And is there anything else I need to know while I'm gathering info? I always forget because I'm real good at this about all the pertinent things. Nope.
Yeah, we definitely have enough moves now that you might very well have.
I don't think I've
something special for that.
Yeah, I don't have anything in the minute. I've got a bunch of stuff when transcended in regards to gathering info because that won't knock back the transcendence track.
Yep.
And then others act with increased effect when that happens. But in the moment, to my knowledge, there's nothing.
Yeah, I don't
think you're good.
Yeah. 3.
Exciting.
Okay, you can ask me a question.
Well, I guess I'm going to ask my favorite question, which is, what do I see here despite an effort to conceal it?
There's so many hidden things.
I know.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, you were talking about looking for a way in, and I think we'll just go with that because it's the most obvious thing.
Great.
And probably the thing that you would prioritize the most, I would expect.
Since I guess this time I'll try. It'd be a good
Try to
pilot.
actually do your job.
I don't. Yeah, given all that self-reflection.
The part of the reason why you're not getting good information may, in fact, be that Prophet's like, Abbott, keep up. We don't want to get separated.
Oh, you're like keeping her on task.
Yeah, and there's a crispness to that.
Sure.
It's there's a reason for it. She's not just barking orders for nothing, but she's not particularly compassionate.
But it's also like has a different edge and very much has like status involved, is what I imagine, right? Like versus some of the more not necessarily like overtly jocular out of Tor, but warmer in general, like a flatter org structure for the team historically.
Yeah.
And so down there's like these big corner, kind of beveled corner pillars that come down on this like squat kind of bunker like structure. The top of it is covered in the like writing and stuff that we've come to expect from this like bastion-esque architecture. And there are some clear like scorching and kind of radiating patterned like damage to it. And down below, as like some wind picks up and moves some of this fog around, you're able to see half buried. There's this like large, essentially, like hangar door or like launching point for engines. That the ash and soot and rubble has kind of like pooled into, since we're all at the bottom of this big crater. So that's probably your best way in if you want to stay in your engines.
Great. I think for Abbott, that'll be after like no response to any of the like kind of pokey trying to keep Abbott on point from Tor. There'll just be I found it. There we go. Door.
Cool. I think Tor's quiet. Prophet pauses for a moment. She's like, okay. And it's curt as well, right? She can't fault you for doing the thing you were supposed to be doing.
I'm sure you can find a way.
Well, I mean, that's not her.
No.
So Andrew, you described that it's like it's largely filled in though. The detritus from this explosion and all this soot has covered the passage. You muted.
I'm muted and can't talk. So if the door is, yay, the rubble is like up to here. So you can see the upper portion, like the upper third of it.
Right.
Maybe. And there's just all this like hard to tell what it is crap in the way.
All right. We're going to have to clear this out.
Is there a more efficient way to do it using one of our engine's powers or something like that? Or is this just like a...
Yeah, I mean, it seems like our engines are probably somewhat well equipped to move big stuff. Or they can lift if there's heavy, big things in the way.
Yeah, you're definitely all like big and strong. And
yeah,
can move this stuff. But I think probably it's hard enough that it will require a roll, and who knows what's buried under there. And also, give this to you.
Give us an order. Who's doing the shoveling?
Exactly. So Prophet says, okay, we stick to the plan. Reyna, you watch our backs, make sure nothing jumps out at us. Abbott, you and I will excavate. And knowing what Prophet knows about the hangman, at some point she says like, release your right arm chains, like flip the thing to release your right arm chains. And what Prophet knows is that the hangman can like stretch apart, and she's gonna like pull the chains around like a big thing. If Abbott like agrees to this, if Abbott like goes along with it, like pull the chains on a big clunky thing and then be like, okay, retract them now, and like uses like try and set Abbott up to be like a crane lift, like pulling if there's big stuff that can be grabbed onto. Mm-hmm. That's all her plan. We'll see if Abbott is down with following that.
How does Abbott feel about this?
There's a long silence on the radio. Have you considered that we could leave the engines outside? We're looking for another engine.
There's no guarantee that any of us can just hop in it and pilot it. And if we do, then we still have to recover ours. Our best chances without knowing what we're going to is to stay safe and stay in our engines. We can carry the one we find out. And she's very flat. She's not like angry or anything like that, but she doesn't sound.
She sounds like Abbott.
I think there's a moment where like the radio comes on for a second. Raina's like, "Are you saying that I can't pilot an engine just by getting inside it?"
I'm saying we don't know what we're getting into yet, and we should stay safe in our engines until we do. I need you to be able to stop those things. And like one of the arms points up at the flying pterodactyl things above us if they decide that we're enemies.
I think there's like a moment where like Raina like clicks off and then clicks on real fast and goes like, "Yeah, but I could do it," and then like turns it off again.
Yeah.
And so yeah, the two of you have like waded down into because the soot and stuff is deeper down here, so you're like up to your Leviathan or your engines.
So I would like to lead an action to excavate this, but I would like Abbott to participate in that action. Thus, I will be taking the stress if we fail.
So it's a group action?
Yeah, I think it's a group action between Abbott and, I mean, potentially Raina could get involved as well in like the scouting, like seeing, giving us advice. But in terms of the physical moving, I want Abbott to participate with me in this manual labor.
Yay!
What action are you rolling to do this?
I want to use flow. I think I'm trying to like fit within the spaces that are there and work with the tools we have. I think that's right.
And like I feel like the two of you coordinating to get this job done is
exactly right. And that's part of it is like, let's show that we can function on this mechanical level.
Your aspirations are so delightfully high, Sean.
That is what Abbott is. It's what Prophet is trying to reach, is an equilibrium where she and Prophet can function on some level. Yeah, cool. Does that work for you, Andy?
Yeah,
you want to do a flow
great.
action with me? All right. So we'll both roll flow. If either of us rolls a 1 to 3, I'll take a stress and we'll take the highest result.
And it's risky.
It's risky.
There could be, things could shift or collapse, or there could be sinkholes, or it could anger some local wildlife or whatever. There's all kinds of stuff that could
many options.
But you can have standard effect.
To be clear, I know I'm not mitigating the risk. Like I'm not going to do a set of action to try and improve the situation, but Prophet is trying to be very careful. That may or may not have anything to do with the outcome, but
sorry, Andy, go ahead.
Oh, I have an imagining that Abbott had launched into what Abbott tends to do, which is like, oh great, we're down here, and started assessing. And then Tor, being very like kind of brusque and businesslike in the minute, started like giving orders and interrupted Abbott, like trying to figure out what the best thing to do was. So like, yes, you're being careful in your own idiom.
Mm-hmm.
Is like I have as a signifier of like there's this off tempo where we see Abbott start to like through like the cockpit like start to like dial into some of the stuff, and then like cuts across the radio really loudly and pulls Abbott out of that line of thought towards great, we move rocks now. or
Right.
or whatever.
We're moving these rocks wrong. There was a better way to move these rocks.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we could have gotten out of our engines, right? Like, there's a totally other approach, and Prophet very much wants to keep big pieces of metal between her and Tor, between her and Abbott right now. She does not want to be 6 inches away from Abbott. She wants to be 40 feet away from Abbott at the very least.
At least a quarter of the globe away.
Yeah.
If one could swing it.
She wants as much armor on as possible. Let's put it that way.
Excellent.
Right, so
okay.
2 of you are rolling flow,
risky, standard.
Great.
Oh, hold on. There are things. You already rolled 6. Okay. Is
it's a die. What were you gonna say?
We're in our things. So does this fit within our virtue or an impulse?
For either of your engines.
Yeah.
It doesn't for the hangman. Though I do have another die I forgot about.
The hangman is wise. The magician is clever. I feel like I'm making use of the tools that we have. I think I'm making use of my knowledge of the hangman. And the way that the two can coordinate
together.
This.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a huge stretch to say that what I'm doing is clever.
That you're being clever.
Yeah.
Cool. And if your actions align with your engine's virtue, it will provide a helping die.
Awesome.
So you can go ahead and get a helping die.
Thanks, magician. Help out.
And so you're making Abbott in the hangman really do most of the heavy lifting, and you're being like a director and adjuster.
No, literally I'm like, okay, unlock your arm, and I'm gonna wrap it around this big thing. Now reel it in and maybe I'll push it, but Abbott is doing the actual heavy lifting, and I'm coordinating and putting the chain around the thing, or that's my intent.
The tones of control and power are really gross, right? I want to name that because I'm uncomfortable about it.
Yes, I think that's good to name, and if you'd like, I can stop that. But this is very much like a defense mechanism.
No, totally. I think there's a lot of playing this power and control and distance is important to Tor because of wanting safety.
Yep.
Via distance.
It's a way to stay in control of the emotion.
It's a way to stay in control. Yeah. It's a way to protect herself from hurting. And so she's staying real distant with Abbott. And it's some of it is a defense mechanism, and some of it is just being passive aggressive because this is what she sees Abbott doing all the time. So she's like, "Oh, you're always distant and controlled, and
I want us to fuck this
how
up
you
again.
like it when I do it back." But anyway,
yeah,
she's a teenage girl as well. So
I'm gonna roll that second d6 because I'm not transcended. Never mind. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm in my.
Yeah, cool. But we succeed.
Y'all succeed. Does that cause any stress for your character, Sean, if you get a 5? It doesn't.
No,
right?
only if one of us rolls a 1 to 3.
Yeah. Okay. So y'all managed to displace some of this rubble. It's mostly stone for the first little while. But as you start clearing some of that out of the way, there's this really ghastly kind of still life underneath of the kind of mummified, in a volcanic eruption style of mummification, remains of this mini Leviathan that is fully impaling the entire torso of an engine that is slumped over it and has had all this stuff collapse onto it. And so you find at first the engine, but you see this big spike sticking through its back, and then you flop it over, and there's this mummified insectile, somewhere between a beetle and an ant, with this big horn on its head that it's rammed into this thing, and so it falls back and sprawls out all ghastly, and has this big bug thing sticking out of it, and the weight of that shifting tears the head off the bug, and the exoskeleton, just like empty husk of it is just like standing there, and then the bit has fallen off. And it disturbs a whole bunch more.
I was gonna say, I imagine there's a huge cloud of dust in all this too. Yeah.
And so Reina, you like can't see them anymore. There's just this huge fucking billowing cloud of nonsense.
I'm sure we have radio. It'll be fine.
And yeah, you can like hear chatter between them, but it gets like fuzzier.
Abbott will definitely give pause when we get down to like the boneyard layer of things.
Yeah, it's like
and sort of like survey and like even just not like just very much observe for the hot minute. And
I feel like Tor does and again, feel free to put brakes on this. I think Tor does a fairly insensitive thing, which is that in just all this activity, there's a lot of dust probably coming up, and Tor pulls the chain of the hangman and like wraps it around something, and then when Abbott's reeling it in, that's when she sees the thing. Like she doesn't know what she's pulling in until, because Tor didn't say like, oh, I found an engine, or oh, I found a Leviathan. So like the way you get it is as you're retracting your arm, then you see that I've attached it to it for you to pull it out.
and
So it's
so in the hangman, and well, like externally you see like the hangman stop, right? And then like there's nothing, like the radio will click and you hear the hiss of it being live, and then there's nothing for a hot minute. And it turns off.
just without saying anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you continue to pause, Tor says, is it too heavy? Was it too heavy a load?
And there isn't any reply, and there's a long pause, and then that slack in those chains in the hangman is taken up again, and that motion continues.
Sorry. Not being very nice right now.
It's all good.
And so yeah, y'all have a way in now.
Cool.
What do you want to do?
I feel like we have like probably big, not even if they're not native to the engines, the sciencey bits are probably strapped on like big halogens to
there's like a big like
engines.
shoulder light or something.
Yeah.
So
I think once we are going inside, we like flash them. So there's that effect of spotlight through dust where, you can through particles.
See it, like flail or point around a little bit down below, like through the fog.
Which is really good at not lighting up an entire room. Like it's enough to like see bits, but you don't see the whole thing. I'm feeling very alien right now in terms of the ambiance.
Yeah, you're basically going into a big spooky dungeon.
Yeah.
While in giant robots.
It's okay. It's a robot dungeon. So
it's gonna be fine.
Mecha dungeon.
Hey, isn't that like the end of Xenogears?
Yeah, actually, I'm feeling a little bit of that vibe.
Yeah.
So do all three of you go inside, or is Reina gonna like stay outside and?
Yeah, what's been going on with birdos?
Yeah.
There hasn't been any change in the bird things overhead. And from your initial, like, the engines probably have like, they have those lights, they have like some kind of sonar imaging thing or whatever. So you get like a ping, there's like this pulse, and you realize that like this thing is enormous underneath you. This is like the very tippy top of some huge building that's like vaguely pyramid shaped.
Yeah, maybe it was really, really tall. It's just super buried.
Yeah, exactly. Or it was built into the ground.
Yeah, built on. Yeah.
You said, Andrew, that the the blast doors, or whatever we want to call the big hangar doors, there we go, were covered in more of our prophet-esque cursive and cuneiform. Right?
Yeah, totally. So yeah, like the doors had been like broken in, I think. So there's like, they're in two parts. Each like side of the doors is split in half laterally and has been like spilled out onto the floor. So one of them is like face down, like the wrong way, and the other has the exterior facing part that has all this writing on it. So yeah, you can see like partial thing. It looks like a broken clay tablet or something that's been chucked.
Yeah. And in in that initial process of like being on that threshold, Abbott will kind of pause and look into can you read that?
I think probably can. Yeah. She like shines her big halogen on it, and then like with a lot of effort trying to uses one of the articulated arms to like swipe, I'm sure it's covered in eons of dust. And she's like, okay, how do I brush the dust off without, cracking, without using too much force, and tries to clean it off to read what it says.
Yeah, and it's similar to the like prayer text that we saw previously. The general themes here are of like dead things and things being entombed, and like that everything in here is resting and being contained.
This is where they kept, I mean, she conveys that, and then is everything we say is heard by control above. Like everything we say is on
radio
their
comms.
Yeah.
Abbott will very flatly be like, we shouldn't be here.
We've got a mission to do. And Raina, why don't you come in? We got a long ways to go. I don't want to get separated too far.
Give me just a second. I think while you folks were actually doing the like shifting of things and everything else, Raina probably like jumps on top of like another section of the superstructure, right? And points at the ship and starts giving them orders about like testing a couple of things, seeing if like their engines can like clear some of the smoke if they like come down low enough to like create sort of like bubbles that we can like see in and everything else.
Right, the way like a helicopter can
clear smoke. And so like I've been working with like the people on the ship to try and like figure out like how we're gonna do a defense, whether they can dive into the dust or not, that kind of stuff. And so like once you give the order that I'm supposed to move out with you guys, I very much have it's like a faux adversarial relationship with them. So like I point at the ship and I tell them, that I expect them to basically buzz off until we call for help and stay out of trouble. And I don't want to see them like getting hurt because they're disobeying orders and all this other stuff. But like it's clear that Raina cares about these people, and she doesn't want them to try and play like the role of pilots when they don't have the appropriate amounts of support.
Yeah.
Sure.
So
yeah. And they have like zero maneuverability, and if something comes after them, the conclave isn't fast.
All right. So yeah, I think I'm gonna.
I think what they end up doing is they go. So there's like the big crater, and you're at the bottom of it. They kind of go off to the side, and the conclave like moves really slowly and doesn't like displace a lot of air when it's not moving. So it just they kind of like drift it over to the wall, and just like mist starts washing over it, and it just kind of lurks there and is mostly obscured by cloud.
Yeah, nice. I just don't want him to get jumped by the giant Ava prototype 02 circling in a formation kind of things up there. So yeah, all right, I'm coming with you guys.
Cool. Once we get inside, does comms with the conclave drop? Or do they get super staticky?
It gets spotty, yeah. Like in some parts of some rooms you have a signal, and in others you don't. It's like really inconsistent. And so you get like when you come up, like bits and pieces of it will come through.
A lot of that. So yeah, my goal is, and this might be done sort of with body language, and this might be done talking over the times when I feel like our connections to the conclave are broken or really or so staticky they couldn't make out what we're saying, is to like point at the door when Raina comes in, and also so that Abbott knows this, although I think Abbott's already pieced it together, that this is just like our bastion. It's where they lock them up and tried to make use of the Leviathans. At least that's my read based on the way you described it.
Yeah, it's like it's not quite the same, but it's vaguely equivalent.
Yeah.
There's some detail of it that doesn't quite line up. And yeah, so y'all are in this there's like this long series of these big kind of corridors. And they're all full of little like berths for engines that are empty. And lots of signs of fighting. There's lots of stone that has been like broken or had like big gouges taken out of it. And yeah, there are lots of these little, relatively small for leviathans, like ant scarab things laying around in various states of, being mangled and stuff. But they're skeletons kind of like with their legs curled in, some on their back, the skeletons stick around even though they're all empty now. And so anytime you bump them, they like go to
chitinous
pieces.
shells.
Yeah.
Punch underfoot, that kind of thing.
Prophet, can you see where this thing that we're looking for is in your future vision?
Hold on. I don't think it's the future that we need right now. It's the past.
That works just fine for me. Whatever explanation works for you.
And I say I say it's going to work best if you, and I kind of hesitate when saying this because it's exactly the opposite of what I want, but I say it's going to work best if I focusing on you. You're the closest to coming to your interminable fate. She just says like flatly.
And I have no idea exactly what that means. So I go, okay, do you need me to get out of my mech?
No, I just need you to be in the front.
Okay.
And focus
Where
on you.
Where else would I be? And I kind of laugh and you hear the like clip clock because like my mech is like 4-legged most of the time. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. And I think I do like the magician, like cross my arms, meditation for a moment. And I'm going to use my oracle ability. I can see into the myriad of timelines leading from the past to the future. When I gather information, get +1 effect. If it relates to my fated person, also take +1d. And Raina is my fated person. And we see Prophet Vision, where we see Raina going through all these different passages and her connection. And we also see like a different, there's like a superimposed in Raina. We also see different engines that maybe we just saw, like the carcass of the one that we like was pulled apart. We see like those like in the past, like blurring in and crossing over, and it's kind of blurry. And then I think, well, maybe depending on how
there
I
are
roll,
echoes of them like fighting these giant ant things. So like as you like walk through, a certain like scene will play out.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is where one like got knocked over and then something like planted a spear in it, and we can still see the like bug carcass with this big spear pinning it to the ground. And so you briefly see that like play out, and then Raina is just like walking again and you see her. Yeah. Cool.
So the action I want to take to do this is probably analyze, I think, trying to parse out the myriad of
pick through all these different things for one that actually is good.
Yeah.
A direction to go that will get you to the thing you want. Or want. Sure.
So cool. I'm gonna do that one.
It's definitely risky. This is not a place to safely go poking.
Poking through the maelstrom of time.
No.
Okay.
But you get improved effect, right?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so you can have great effect here.
Cool. And I don't think this is clever per se. I'm trying to get information that will allow me to clever move, but I don't think this is clever.
And I don't think it relates to the magician being cursed either.
Yeah, I'm not expending a ton of energy on it, but this is important to me. I have 4 social links with the magician. I can spend one of those to have it help me.
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to
Yeah,
spend.
you get an extra
I'm going to use the magician's sort of mystic attunement to help me on this. So I'm going to get 1 die from that and 1 die from the fact that I'm gathering information about my fated person.
Great.
And let's see what happens. Oh, yay, perfect result. Mixed.
Okay, so you can ask me some questions, and
Cool.
somewhere in the middle of this I'll come up with a good consequence for you.
Sounds good.
But you can give me 2 questions and a follow-up, and I will give you the best possible information I can.
Thank you for that. I need to pull up my sheet with the questions that I have. Unless they're in Roll20, I don't think I have them in there. I didn't add them in there.
So your questions
Andy, you were smart, added yours, and
your questions that you can ask are: what do I remember about blank?
Yeah.
What really happened or happens here? What here defies the flow of time? What is already in motion here? What might happen if I blank? What is different about blank this time?
All right. Well, let's start with the first one because I think it's what I was going for in spirit. What do I remember about this place?
About this whole place?
Yeah.
Right. So
maybe what do I remember about this battle? Actually, that feels more germane to what we're looking at right now.
Mm-hmm.
I remember about this conflict between.
And so, yeah, we see there are all these little vignettes of engines fighting these bug things that you're walking through and getting these echoes of. And most of them are different, but there's one engine that kind of recurs as a fixture in them. It's clearly the most badass pilot / engine duo where they're not getting killed by the bugs at any point and are killing lots of the bugs.
That's how you know it's the most badass.
Right.
Just to be clear about what I mean by that, it's not that it has a cool cape or something.
Hey, don't knock cool capes.
I would say that would be a good way to be ooh, that's badass. But no, it's not badass in that way. And something about it, I think maybe it does have some for whatever reason, the engine has this big scarf on it. That's it's not a magical whatever scarf. They just someone made an enormous scarf for this thing.
Aw.
So
I really like
good.
this pilot. High five.
Or
Somebody
a
really
banner or something. I think maybe it's more like a
Yes.
banner, but they wear it as a scarf, and so it's
Yeah.
got this heraldry and stuff on it, and it's really ornate.
Barding.
And they're it's really elegant and tall and kind of spindly, and has a spear that it fights with. Or spears plural, because you've seen some of these.
I've seen some of them, yeah.
The ground still.
Right. I think I pull one of them out when I'm remembering this.
The magician kind of idly plucks one and starts examining it with some of its hands, and then sets it aside. And so way back in the day before you went to sleep, you had heard stories about this particular warrior. Though you never met them, they participated in
Other
battles
battles,
that were elsewhere. But there was this legendary pilot who has a name that I will have from the name list, because that would be helpful, probably. Not this sheet. This one. I think their name was Fallen, Falin.
And do I know their engine's name?
I've been looking at the cards.
Yeah, what's a good tarot, Andy?
Judgment is about judgment,
Oh gosh.
rebirth, call, and absolution.
So perfect. Yes. They piloted the engine Judgment. Great work. Thank you.
Good to know.
Nice. So I say the engine we're looking for is Judgment, piloted by the greatest piloted by the greatest warrior of my time. I'm very clear
I like your hedging the bet there. Yes, thank you. Okay.
Right. Like it yet to be seen if she's the greatest warrior ever.
But like of that generation,
of my time, Fallen was the greatest warrior. I can ask a follow-up on one of my questions.
Yeah.
And I want to ask a follow-up on this one, which is, where did Judgment go in this battle? Like, which is the direction to go find Judgment? Because that's the engine I want to find.
So there's like this spiraling, but square spiraling path that you're on. And it's like Fallen and Judgment just like tore through it all the way. Like they fought their way down to the core of this place. And there's just like this horrible path of destruction that they left.
Yeah. Okay. So it's follow like the carnage. Awesome.
Yeah. And there's like, you remember bits and pieces of the story of this battle, even though you never actually heard it.
Mm-hmm.
But you get these like impressions of different people recounting what happened in this very like mythologizing
nice
of like as if you were seeing it on a tapestry or something. Is kind of the vibe of like, and then they like fought a million things and
yep. Well, and the kind of mythologizing that happens where you're like, he stood 8 feet tall, right? Those sort of things where like people have inhuman proportions. Yeah, actually makes sense when you're talking about engines, right?
But yeah, exactly. The like largeness isn't just that this is an important person in this image. It's also like, actually, they're just freaking huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's this like very exaggerated version of the story, but it ends in them like sacrificing themselves heroically in some way, down in the like very heart of this like horrible there's reference to a swarm,
which these smaller scarab type leviathans seem like they would be part of.
Seems plausible.
And then the second question I'm going to ask is, because I think this relates to what's the response to our presence, is what is already in motion here? I think what that means is like what's happened since we've arrived, but maybe that's not, the letter of the. Well, I'll ask the question that I have on my sheet. What is already in motion here?
Yeah. So as you like progress a little ways into this space, I think you've been like walking along for like 10 minutes or 15 minutes or whatever. Right. And you like, it's the first time you catch a glimpse of movement that isn't caused by you, just like right at the penumbra of your shoulder lamp. Maybe Raina spots this, like something skitters out of sight. It's not as big as these like scarab ant things, but there's some like, like maybe be the size of like a person, but it like climbs up a wall and into a little like crevice out of the way, like cockroaches running under the fridge. So you start seeing signs that something is alive in here. It's not just like a tomb.
Right.
Certainly.
Something's taken up residence.
But also y'all spot some signs of more recent, like there's some modern technology in here. Like in some corner, there's like one of those military style like crates with the latches and the
hard case.
And like
this explains how they knew that there was a thing for us to get.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are some signs that you've seen as you've been walking around of like people rolling in here at some point.
They've
maybe-
already tried to do this once.
Yeah,
Right,
maybe
like
they've come in through some other entrance or something, because there was nothing at the spot where you came in.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was some like deployment of the LDF or someone like them here.
Yeah, so I think the way Prophet conveys that is much in the same way that she sort of like dusted off the door to try and read it. She like picks up one of these big containers and says, "This isn't the first time they tried to retake this bastion. There's something here that doesn't want us to be here."
I think Rena, of course, looks at a lot of things in a very blunt way, and she says, "Well, the other bastion's overpopulated. Having a second one seems like a great idea. We've got multiple teams. We might as well expand, right? And if there's something here, well, then." She like turns around and like actually like projects through speakers in the darkness. I guess it should stop being a coward and come at me.
Andy, you have a very, very sad face.
And that like echoes off the walls in
Yeah.
this like horrible cacophonous way. And I think briefly Prophet sees superimposed on like the chariot, shouting, there's this silhouette of this very like knightly, tall, elegant warrior with a big spear, who also stood proudly and like shouted at into the void once upon a time.
Yep.
And the soundtrack goes a little ominous, as it does every now and then. Not that you get to hear the soundtrack. And then there's just like total quiet after the shouting, and this like awkward, uncomfortable pause. And then we cut.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just gonna, and then we cut to like y'all way deeper in the facility somewhere,
Right?
Perfect.
doing some different stuff. What would be the next big thing, I wonder? Because yeah, y'all have like a path down. I think you end up in this like large open space that is kind of similar to like the last time y'all were on a mission where you were in that big like with the weird MacGuffin-y thing in it. There's a space kind of like that but inverted, because it's a big like pointy down arrow instead of a pointy up arrow. So you're in this like big.
Are we like far enough away from the bastion that we're like on the other side of the planet by any chance? Or
Yeah, it's like directly opposite on the globe.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So we traveled a long ass way to get here.
Yeah, the conclave moves quick enough that it didn't take a ton of time. You're moving at like, when it gets up to speed, it can be at like 747 like jetliner kind of speed. Right. So it took like a day and a half or something to go out there. And then it has to like very slowly decelerate and lower itself back down. And yeah, it's like not quick to change speed or whatever. It can get pretty quick. So yeah, you're like, if you were to draw a line from one to the other, it would just bisect the earth.
We go through the earth. Right. So yeah, we had this one like pyramid coming out and this other pyramid coming out the other way, but
yeah, so they're like both arrowheads pointing the same direction. Just yeah. And you're in this big open, it's kind of like a strip mine, like it steps down, but it's this huge space. And down below, capping off what would be this like perfectly pyramidal shape, there's this weird blobby goopy mess. Which kind of looks like a big blister or something. It's filling up the space. And you can see like there's activity on the surface of it. I mean, it's quite far away.
Or what?
Big space. I'm sorry?
Activity by whom or what? Is it the bug things or is it like the LDF?
Yeah, it's like bug things probably, but it's hard to gauge their size because the space is really, really big. So your like sense of scale is off.
Right.
And the way it kind of collapses down really skews your sense of perspective. But sticking up out of it, there's just this little bit of stonework with that, like, the engine that you've now known, like the scarf on it has like rotted out and deteriorated with the millennia, but it's still kind of vaguely clinging to it, and it's kneeling with its spear in front of it on the top of this plinth, but is now surrounded by this like gross sticky mass that has like much smaller insecty things like swarming all over it, moving about, carrying stones and rubble. And
as a person who knows a whole lot about forming a seal to prevent a gateway from opening to another universe, and the costs and what it looks like to do that, does it appear as though Fallen and their engine judgment are holding this thing closed? It appears that the stance that they're in, or the place that they're in, is critical to the integrity of the current status. Like, so this blister, is that a cap over something that they are keeping in place?
I can only imagine that is a conclusion that Prophet would leap to.
Yes.
But whether or not it is true is a whole other matter. And I don't think you're really in a position to find out from this distance or anything, just by looking at it.
Okay.
So do I imagine correctly that we sort of like are in this space and sort of at perhaps like the highest level of this inverted like pyramidal pit step
top level,
and like basically and I'm reflecting this back because I'm having a hard time getting a sense of where we're at. Is it all the way in the bottom? There's a really gross like pimple blister with like a bunch of movement beneath it, and in the middle of that, or like on top of it, there's a pedestal, and that's where we see judgment.
That's mostly correct, but it looks like that, but what's actually going on is there's like a big spiky down shaped room with a spiky up shaped plinth thing in the middle of it. That is like that it just barely sticks up over the surface of this other thing that has now filled the space. So it's as if someone poured a bunch of gross goop into it.
Bug goop.
Right up to this level where there's this little plinth with a little robot on it. And then who knows how much weirdness is under there. And
so so that's not like leagues and leagues down there. That's like we're at that level where there's a bunch of bug goop.
It's like halfway down this big space or whatever.
Right. If we imagine that it continued in a big V.
Yeah.
Cool.
Exactly.
That helps a whole bunch.
Just to provide more here.
Is it foggy or like cold or like what's
it is
for the
dry.
Dust of the dead?
It's dry and it's not dusty, and it's actually really like neat. There's no rubble or disturbance or like leftovers of battle down here. Everything has been kind of picked clean.
Yeah.
There's been some damage to the space, but any stuff that was like laying around has been moved away.
Well,
we see the thing that we came for. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's like really hot down here as well. It's been getting warmer as you've gone further down. And you're probably like half a mile underground and like well below sea level at this point. Yeah.
Nice. I imagine there's added noise to all the other engine sounds and regulators and all that of like fans kicking on inside of our cockpits. So we have that like additional kind of sound as the internal regulations are trying to cool us.
There's like, heads up stuff that's talking about external temperature, and it's like flashing amber. It's like, you don't want to go outside in this. It's fine for now. Like, you're not going to roast inside your engine, but like, don't go out there. It's going to be bad.
Ora. Fire doesn't bother me too much. What's the plan here, Prophet? What's the call? Do we grab Judgment and run? Do we clear the area? What's the mission?
How many bugs do you think are in there?
A lot.
More importantly, where's the big one?
Hopefully long dead.
The critical. All right. So I will say, out of character for a moment, I do not want to say, let's not complete this mission because I do not want to say let's just back out right now because I think that would not be a fun result to win. It would not be fun to just be like, yeah, never mind. So I would like to venture a possibility where removing judgment does not open up another portal to the gods, but instead releases whatever guardian or protector is underneath that blister. As you said, I don't have any way of knowing that. But I might have a way of remembering the stories. Actually, that's not true. I have a special armor to protect me against surprise and misfortune. So I think I'm just going to make a bold statement and then
let's do it. And then armor it if it doesn't work. Let's go.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or flashback to have just the thing to handle it. Maybe we brought a thing that plugs up the hole right after us.
Yeah.
Also
I say,
yes.
Yeah. So, I'm going to use my Dark Omen. I don't know that I actually need to roll for this, but when you use Impossible Knowledge to persuade somebody, gain +1 effect. I tell Reyna, I say, perhaps you've seen the old vids of the lone archaeologists exploring the Forbidden Temples, where when they removed the capstone, suddenly the temple's defenses engaged.
That's about time we got some action.
And we will need to move very quickly and perhaps fight a very dangerous foe the moment we move judgment.
I think I actually clap you hard enough that like there's like actual force against the mech, and I go like, you're saying this like it's a bad thing, Prophet.
At this juncture, Abbott in the Hangman is going to go edge closer to judgment because there's a conversation to be had.
So you're like working your way down the sides of this big, like effectively pit.
Yes.
Yeah. But there's like steps down, right?
There's ways down.
Yeah. Cool.
And so the Hangman is like lowering itself down, like scraping along the sides, or like letting its arms stretch out so it can land, and then retracting or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I mean, you get down to this, to like the water level, I guess we'll call it. It's like semi-solid. There's little bug things like walking along it.
Are they? So there are bug things external to the.
Yeah, on the outside
the bug blister
thing. And some of you can see them like slip into parts of it. They're like little like ports that they can go into that are vaguely sphincter-like. And yeah, they range in size from like probably the size of a car to like as big as those ones that you saw. There are like a couple of the really big ones that are like up to your waist or chest level.
Are they also horned like the ones we saw? Or are they?
Yeah, some of them have like horns on them. Others seem like maybe they're like worker ones or have like serve different purposes. And they're like shoring things up and moving things around. You see some like coming down the other side of the pit that have retrieved like the corpse of some Leviathan and are dragging. There's like a team of them dragging this huge snake-like thing down the side of the pit and down into the bottom of it. Yeah. They don't really pay you much mind.
Good. I'm going to not step on any of them or mess any of their shit up or kick any dirt into their nothing. Just nothing.
So you can steer clear of them?
I would like to not interfere with their work.
If you want to get out to where Judgment is like kneeling on the plinth,
Mhm.
You need to walk across the surface of this thing or like jump over there. They all give it a little bit of a berth, like none of their patterns like cross that plinth.
Yeah.
But
How
they're all over the
far
place.
is it?
It's far. It's
Yeah.
like a
Can't have a conversation from here far.
yeah.
But I think it looks clear that Abbott is moving in that direction, right?
Abbott has made it down to the water's edge or whatever.
Yeah, right. So this is fun. I say, Abbott, I'm sure you'll understand more about what's going on than we will. Perhaps I should carry you over there. And I think with like magician's sort of like floaty, levitaty powers, I will like come down beside you and hover over the space, which I do not have very good control over, even doing it just by myself. So I'm going to offer a hand.
Great. So that being the case, there's the hangman will sort of like, having like been surveying the scene and looking very intently at Judgment, will sort of just very like turn sort of at the waist and over the shoulder. And then again, the comms will click on and there's a long silence. Okay.
And like very conspicuously, like one of the bigger bugs like passes between the two of you and starts marching up the
Love it.
Yes.
Awesome. We should probably take a break and then see how this horrible plan goes.
It's going to be fine. There's nothing bad to happen about roiling tons of bugs. It's going to be fine.
It's going to be great. All right. We'll be back in a few.